So again, thank you so much for sending us this bottle. This is a fantastic.
It was great having you on the show. Okay,
yeah, later.
we do need to move on. As much as we love to dork out about tastings and everything else, we do need to move on. So we are going to get into the fun part of the show that we like to call Wine, Beer, Spirit, or Pop Culture Reference. This is where I'm going to give these guys a term, and they're going to try to tell me if it's a wine term, a beer term, a spirit term, or some kind of pop culture reference. The term this week is crow's nest. So is crow's nest a wine term, a beer term, a spirit term, or some kind of pop culture reference? Jeff Solomon, let's kick it off with you.
Crow's nest.
Wow. Let me ask you something.
Yes.
Can you spell that?
I can. I hope I spell it correctly. CROW''S, next word, NEST.
The C and the N, are they capitalized?
I would say they are capitalized.
Interesting.
They are capitalized.
You know, if I were on a ship, if I were a seaman, I love that word. If I were on a ship, I could point to the top of that pole up there where there's a little basket, and they refer to that thing as the crow's nest, and that's where you got the pirate that's up there with the big old, the thing that you look through for no reason. It doesn't make things bigger or anything like that.
Yeah.
They call it a kaleidoscope. And if I were that person yelling land ho, whatever that means,
yeah.
I would be sitting in a crow's nest when that happens. And yet, you're capitalizing the C and the N, which makes me believe that this particular crow's nest is the name of a particular place, not just part of a ship. You know, I grew up in Ben Lomond, California, in the Santa Cruz Mountains. I used to work at the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. And if I traveled, it must be like 2 miles. It's probably even less than that. If I traveled about 1.5 miles due east, because it faces down on the Monterey Bay, I would end up in the near the Santa Cruz Harbor, where there is a very nice restaurant called the Crow's Nest. And I'm going to say that this is it's a spirit term because it's named after their most famous cocktail at the Crow's Nest, which is called the Crow's Nest. It's probably made with rum.
Okay.
Crow's Nest. It's a spirit term.
So Jeff Solomon is saying that Crow's Nest is a spirit term for a restaurant in what city was that in?
Santa Cruz, California.
Santa Cruz, California. Okay, Stefan, do you have any thoughts on what Crow's Nest may be?
So what blows my mind, and I can't really think of anything else because of this, the Crow's Nest at the top of the Captain Cook Hotel in Anchorage, Alaska, with an epic old school French restaurant and old school style sommelier, was my first wine job. That was my first wine experience. I was bartending. The sommelier went on vacation and didn't come back, and they were freaking out. And I went to the maitre d' and said, I think I could do this. I think I might like to do this. They handed me a bunch of books And literally a week later, I was wearing the apron, the gold Testavon. I had a cart, a candle, and I was decanting 3 liters of Mouton tableside. That was my entree into the wine world. And where I had literally my first epiphanies was at the Crow's Nest in Anchorage, Alaska, which is still there. However, and so that was like such a mind blow. Like for me, that's a wine term. But
yeah, okay. So Stefan is saying this is such an interesting wine, beer, spirit, or pop culture reference.
But you know, if I had to guess otherwise, I feel like with the capitalization as well, I just think it might be something as simple as like you have like Gap's Crown, right? You've got these pretty famous vineyards. To me, it sounds like a vineyard, but just a vineyard I haven't heard of.
Okay. All right. So Stefan is going to say that it's a wine term and it's a vineyard that for somehow he hasn't heard of.
Although he once worked at a restaurant called the Crow's Nest, which really
doesn't include like places you used to work when you were, in your 20s.
Which could be considered a wine term in a roundabout way.
Wine term.
Okay.
It's going to be great when he says, I never knew any of this about you, Stefan. I was actually talking about the restaurant in Colorado Springs.
Yeah. Oh, it's actually a Weezer song.
off their last studio album. Okay. The term Crow's Nest is, in fact, a wine term. And it is the place that Stefan worked in Anchorage, Alaska.
What?
Yeah. Funniest sidebar, that 3 liter, you poured it for me.
I remember. You were like 7 or 8 years old.
Yeah. I was the one guzzling it. Yeah.
I'm really interested in left bank versus right bank Bordeaux.
Can I sip out of your gold cup?
that you had crystal sippy cups was astounding to me. That's
how we roll in Alaska, baby.
Crow's Nest. Yeah, I love the story of how you got into wine, and that the story that you told. I fell in love with that story, and I was like, I got to work that into the show somehow. So I figured, hey.
Well, my second question off the list.
and then you proceeded to tell us the story and then guess something else, so you didn't win, which is really the bummer of it all.
Yeah.